going on, guys? Johnny back again, coach of the Cologne Conkeldurrs for our third NPL Tryout match, this time versus King Bub, who we already know from a tournament, I think. Really special game for us and important game, because Bub is 0-2, we are 1-1, and everybody else in our division has already played. Now the situation is that if I win versus Bub, I only make it to bracket play if I beat him with at least 5-0. If I don't 5-0 him, I'm going to come in third behind Insanity and Mio. We all have a 2-1 record, but they just have the slightly better differential. So what this means is that we have a pretty special situation here. We have to prep for a 5-0 win in order to proceed to brackets, and in order to win 5-0 we have to take risks. Well, this means I might lose this game because I have to make risky plays, I have to make the correct decisions, I have to bring a more offensive and a more setup heavy team. Now, saying that you have to win 5-0 is one thing, but saying that you have to win 5-0 versus a Terrakion, a Mamoswine, a Gengar, a Dragonite, a Mega Gardevoir, a Delmice, a Rotom and a Napoleon is another thing. I was pretty scared of his team. Now he has a couple of thoughts. Lucario doesn't have a bad matchup. If I manage to get a Sword Stance up to get to +2, the only thing that could potentially stop my Lucario is a Scarf Rotom Heat. But I felt like Rotom Heat was the most likely Scarfer versus my team for a couple of reasons. First reason is that he actually can hit most of my team for neutral damage with it while locking himself into a move, and it gives him the advantage of outspeeding both my Manaphy and my Thunderous T, which is key for Rotom Heat. It's also, again, his best check to Lucario, since I can't run a physical set, an E-Speed set, because that's walled by Terrakion, and I can't run a Bullet Punch set. I can only run a Bullet Punch set, which is walled by a fast Rotom Heat. Vacuum Wave is out of the question because it's too faster. He has Gengar as a fast Ghost as well, so I can't really hit that otherwise. So yeah, I had to go with the Lucario set. I couldn't go really SD because, yes, if he didn't bring Scarf Rotom Heat, which he actually did not, this Lucario set would have been brilliant, but I couldn't really risk that happening. Also, I had to account for a couple of rolls even at +2, and the problem with Lucario is that it's really hard pressed to get setup opportunities this game, because look at his team, it doesn't set up on anything safely. So really tough match. I had to prep around this to the best of my ability. Next up, next thing to note, Mega Absol has a great matchup versus his team. It can basically plow through his entire team if he doesn't bring a Scarf Terrakion. So I either expect a Scarf Rotom or a Scarf Terrakion. Now with Absol I can either run an SD set, which is hard to pull off because I don't have any setup fodder, and I don't force many switches because he might be wary of the pursuit, and Absol is not a Pokemon you can play around passively. Like, if that thing gets up in SD and you know it's a threat with the Sucker Punch, with the knockoff and the potential Play Rough, which I run this week, I feel like it's not worth running SD because I shouldn't get a chance to actually set the SD up without safely here, because his team is pretty damn strong overall. So I just run Pursuit in my last moveset to potentially get rid of the Gengar, which demolishes my core of Uxie and Clefable. However, I wasn't sure if Gengar would come because Gardevoir does the same thing, just better, because it isn't as easily Pursuit trapped by the Mega Absol. It's still a 50-50 because if he stays in Pursuit isn't doing too much to the Gardevoir, and he can just knock me out with the Hyper Voice. Now, the one thing I wanted to use to sweep was in Lucario, as I said. I didn't bring SD, I brought Agility, because this way I don't care about the Scarf Terrakion, I don't care about the Scarf Rotom Heat, I don't care about anything. Agility, Close Combat, Iron Tail, Ice Punch. All I need are 40% off on the Rotom Heat and 30-ish% off on a Delmice, and then my Lucario just sweeps through his team. Granted, I hit my Iron Tail versus the ones I need to hit Iron Tail versus. Now the problem again is my setup opportunity. This is why I run Air Balloon. With an Air Balloon, I can potentially set my Lucario up versus the Dhelmise, because that's the only thing to Oko me it has is EQ. I can also set it up with the Mamoswine, because Ice Shard or Ice Crush are only going to do negligible damage, and I really don't expect a superpower. He might even go for knockoff, which would give me a justified boost, which would be beautiful, but stupid. So, yeah, also potentially EQ on Terrakion. It wouldn't make too much sense, but he might go for that to have a safe move to kill the Arcanine. But close combat does that regardless, so I don't really expect that. But yeah, Air Balloon, Seep Knight, my best item. I wanted to use Chople Berry to lift the hit from Terrakion, but fun fact, Lucario still doesn't take a close combat even from Scarf Terrakion, even with a Chople Berry. So there's that. Now the way I originally approached this game was to win 5-0 was with a lead, Mental Herb, Stealth Rock, Memento, Dual Screen, Yuxi. And I wanted to lead with Yuxi, get at my rocks, click Memento, and potentially get up a setup with Lucario and sweep that game. However, the problem was that in all my mock battles, in literally all of them, my opponents brought a sub Mega Gardevoir, because Mega Gardevoir doesn't need much versus my team. With the combination of sub, Wish, potentially Calm Mind and Hyper Voice, or even Dual Stab instead of Wish, it just plows my entire team. It can get up a sub on the Yuxi, it can get up a sub on the Clef, it can potentially get up a sub on a more defensive Manaphy. And once Mega Gardevoir got up a sub, it pretty much gets 2 kills versus my team, so I can never ever let this happen. Mega Gardevoir is way too big of a threat, especially with Rocks Up. I have no way of handling this, and which is why I had to unfortunately drop the Yuxi Memento idea. It was good. It was probably my best chance if he didn't bring the Mega Gardevoir. As you can see, he didn't. But how was I supposed to know that before? So I opted to go with a more defensive Yuxi, again with the Colbur Berry to take the knockoff from Mamoswine. I also didn't really expect Gengar to come, which is why I dropped my Cassip Berry for the Colbur Berry, because again, Absol is a giant threat to his team. Just expected the Mega Gardevoir more. But anyway, I have Stealth Rock, Thunder Wave, Iron Tail, and U-Turn. Iron Tail to hit the Mega Gardevoir for damage and prevent it from getting up a sub, or potentially taking a Hyper Voice and just Iron Tailing the shit out of that thing. If I need to preserve my 5-0, which again is going to be hard, but I have to play and prep for that. U-Turn to get it to potentially pivot into Terrakion and get the slow U-Turn out. Because I need to get the 5-0, I couldn't really play defensively around the Mega Gardevoir. My Yuxi, I couldn't really bring Clef and Yuxi and a bulkier Manaphy. Like, all of that prevented me, and I knew that I was really prone to being counter-swept by a Terrakion if my original plans, if not every play I make works. I mean, I have good chances to win this game, I thought, going into the game. But 5-0 only with a perfect streak. And otherwise I can't really do that, because I had to make my team more offensive in order to have a chance of 5-0ing and not just losing to Mega Gardevoir. Or losing Mons to Mega Gardevoir before I can do that. So this means that I'm a little less prepped for the Terrakion, which might come to bite me in the... yeah, I'm not going to finish that sentence now. So yeah, that's my Yuxi set. My Thunderous set is again max speed, max special attack, this time with the Yachi Berry to take the hit from the Mamoswine. Now here's another thing. I run Thunderbolt, Dark Pulse, Grass Knot, and Volt Switch. This thing puts in a dent versus his team. Thunderbolt hits so much on his team for good damage. The only thing resisting are the Rotom and the Mamoswine being immune. And the Dhelmise. Dhelmise obviously doesn't appreciate Dark Pulse. Rotom after Rocks Dark Pulse should do a lot of damage, because I mostly expect the physically defensive Rotom to deal with my Lucario. A quote-unquote deal if he's not scarfed. That's not a Lucario check. Like, people, if you don't have two things that outspeed, that don't lose to the same priority, you haven't checked Lucario. People have to grasp that about Lucario. That might just be my opinion, but I know a certain certain guy who doesn't win championships who I think agrees with me on that at least. Okay, so I have the Yachi Berry and I have Grass Knot to kill the Mamoswine. Hindsight, maybe should have probably dropped Grass Knot and just run Nasty Plot or Agility, because that could have given me an opportunity to sweep and probably. And even if Mamoswine kills me, I get a setup chance with my Lucario. But I changed this team so much after mock battles, because I prepped quite a lot for this, that I wasn't really that in the end there were so many possible scenarios that I thought Yachiberry would be the best thing to go with. And yes. Now, next up, I originally my next one wasn't Arcanine, it was a Clefable. It was a Cosmic Power Clefable with Charge Beam, with Moonblast, and Stored Power and Soft Boiled. However, again, my mock battles, I had 4 of them. Everyone brought a Mega Gardevoir with a sub. Clefable couldn't beat that sub. Mega Gardevoir got 3 kills, or 3 Calm Mines and then 3 kills. So I ultimately decided to drop this Clefable set, and now look at the team he brought. The Clefable would have 6-0'd him once I got rid of the Empoleon. 6-0 sweep. Nothing he could do about it. It's so frustrating, and I'm going to add a little bit, going to detail a bit about that once I finish my team matchup. Yeah, so I have a specially defensive Arcanine yet again, the same set that I used to, or a similar set that I used to check the Magearna last time. Morning Sun, Flare Blitz, Close Combat, and Raw. Close Combat just to hit his, to hit the Rotom Heat after rocks for some damage, or I can really roll that out and just rack up rocks damage on his potential Dragonite, his Rotom Heat, and I Close Combat to get off damage on the Empoleon and the Mamoswine. Now, I originally made this faster than an Adamant Mamoswine. Unfortunately, I had to drop that idea because I just wasn't taking hits from Rotom and Gardevoir well enough to be comfortable with that, because Psychic just still destroys an Arcanine. And last one, again, Manaphy. I opted for a sub-Tailglow set with Surf and Shadow Ball this time around, for a couple of reasons. Originally, again, I had a more defensive Manaphy that set up on Terrakion and beat those, and beat Mamoswine, and beat Dragonite, and all of those 1v1, and also set up on Rotom. But, again, the one thing that absolutely wrecks Manaphy, the 2 things that could have checked a defensive Calm Mind Manaphy would have been, didn't come to this match. Delmice didn't come, and Mega Gardevoir didn't come. So, the defensive Manaphy would have been the best bring, but hindsight is 2020. Again, I'm going to add on that a bit later. I brought Surf and Shadow Ball as my coverage moves because I saw a lot of Yachi Berries and the AV Delmices, which is why I wanted to run Shadow Ball to hit that. Shadow Ball also hits the Empoleon for neutral damage at least, in contrast to Ice Beam, which just doesn't do damage at all. I know I dropped the potential to hit the Dragonite, but nobody, literally no one of my mock battles brought Dragonite for a couple of reasons. Thunders outspeeds HP Ices, Absol outspeeds Play Roughs, Lucario outspeeds Ice Punches, Yuxi takes every hit and Ice Punches or T-Waves, Manaphy takes a hit every hit and outspeeds and clicks Ice Punch, Arcanine gets off an Intimidate and can just Will-O-Wisp and consistently break its multi-scale. Clefable beats it 1v1, even Serena can Dropkick and Play Rough to beat it. So, I really didn't think Dragonite had that great of a matchup versus my team. But yeah. So when I got into the match and saw this Felix Pokemon he brought, I was like, what the fuck just happened? He doesn't have no Mega Gardevoir and no Delmice. Like, I sorta have to defend Bob here, but sorta not, because what Bob did, and he told me, and I understand that. He said he didn't have a lot of time. We postponed our match till the end of our, till the second to last day of bracket play, of pool play, because he has personal issues, he has real life issues he has to attend to. He didn't have a lot of time for Pokemon. He told me earlier in the week, or he told me that he didn't have much time to prep the day we played, so that he'll just throw together some stuff and go from there and play with what he has right there, then and there. And I can't blame him. Obviously, real life issues are always first, and you can't always invest and control how much time you can invest into Pokemon. But what this meant was that all my intense prep was sorta thrown out the window, because you can prep as good as you want, and I know Bob is a good player, so I prepped to the best of my ability, predicting his sets, predicting his possible checks, and then deciding my sets to bring. However, if he doesn't know, if now he threw together stuff, I'm prepping completely for the wrong team because he didn't put as much thought into the matchup as I did, which means I'm sort of over-prepped. So yeah, I felt like this might really hurt us in the course of this match, but I already rambled on for 15 minutes, but that's just because this game is so important. So let me stop rambling now and get right on into the match. Yeah, as I said, I needed an offensive sweep to start off the game. My way to sweep is to get up hazards, but right now, on team matchup, I thought what stops me from Thunderous is such a threat to his team. Why not lead with this and get instant pressure off? Because I again suspected a Napoleon lead to immediately get rocks up versus my team, which could have easily done versus the Yuxi, and which would have greatly hindered my Dragonite and my Thunderous. So I decide to lead Thunderous here, and I now click Volt Switch. Because Volt Switch is a non-drawback play. Even if he goes Mamoswine, remember I have a Yachi Berry, so I can just plop that with a Grass Knot on the next turn. So Volt Switch is a pretty risk-free play here. He goes into the Rotom Heat, revealing to me that he's a defensive Rotom Heat, and that means the only thing I can do to break this with the mons I need to either to break is to get up rocks and get up chip damage off this onto this Monk. He reveals the Thunder Wave, which is a play I don't really agree with because Yuxi didn't really outspeed a whole lot of his team and the things and I think he should have rather Volt Switch it out, got momentum by going into Gengar, which is a pretty big threat to my team, which he should have seen, which it was a team matchup. But he Thunder Waves my Yuxi, which is cool because this actually allows me to get a slow U-turn after the Volt Switch from the Rotom, because that means I get the momentum here. I can U-turn out, and I'm going right back out into my Thunderous T, keeping up the pressure. Looking good so far. I can Volt Switch again. He goes into Mamoswine. Sash broken. I'm Yachi Berry. I can just throw out the Grass Knot here and stay in, no worries. He doubles back into Empoleon, predicting me to switch out and trying to get up his rocks, but that works out for me. So basically, I can Volt Switch out here again, put his Rotom really low at 45%, and now I go into my Manaphy, and I just fire off a Surf because Rotom is a pretty nasty thing to deal with for my team. At this point I already noticed this Empoleon is physically defensive and I saw no leftovers, so I suspected a Chople Berry to deal with my Lucario. Just on a quick side note. Okay, here I go for sub, because there are two options now. He said he didn't prep accordingly, which means he might not have packed Raw on his Empoleon, which might mean that my sub Manaphy just wins from here. Now I originally predicted Empoleon to be a raw Empoleon, and the thing is, I don't think he expected a sub Manaphy because he has a Mega Gardevoir. The reasoning behind the sub was I can take a Hyper Voice even behind the sub and have my sub still intact, which means that he has to sacrifice either one of his fast mons to break my sub before he can take out Manaphy later on. So it was pretty specific to don't play too passively around the Mega Gardevoir, which didn't come, so there's that. But I can sub up here. I thought he will not predict sub, so I figured he might not go for Raw initially, and just put up his Stealth Rocks right here. So yeah, what I could have done here is doubled out into my Thunderous to keep up the pressure again. But right here I was pretty happy with my play. I can just, well, maybe hindsight, actually, maybe hindsight, my best play would have been to double into my Thunderous, but anyway, I try to get up a sub here, because if he isn't raw, which was my mindset at this point, he might not be raw. I can get up I can kill this Empoleon and then potentially get a kill afterwards from here. Now, I just throw out a Shadow Ball to scout for the raw and not waste a turn setting up when he has it, and he reveals the raw and he gets me out into my Arcanine, which is fine by me. I can just Flare Blitz to kill this and then go from there. So Empoleon is gone, Manaphy is looking more and more like threatening. Right here, the Rotom comes in, and from the damage I think it's max physically defensive, and this sadly means that my Arcanine is not able to take it out with close combat. I would need like a max roll or more. I need a max roll to kill this with close combat, And even though I know the close, probably the pain split is incoming, I don't really have another play, because if he volt switches here on the Manaphy, I'm in a really bad position. So I decide to make the middle ground play and go into my Thunderous as he pain splits. So yeah, again, didn't work out the best for me. So, but now I'm back in with my Thunderous, which means I can click Volt Switch again, or what I'm actually going to do is click Dark Pulse, because I predicted him to Volt Switch out, but nope. Okay, now I don't even get my own plays right. Sorry guys, it's really late for me. No. What I thought is I Volt Switch out because I didn't expect him to Volt Switch on a Thunderous, because I could have easily 2KO'd this Rotom with Dark Pulse from the range it was at. So I felt like he needed to click Overheat to, he needed to click Overheat at this point to be able to beat me, which is why I make the double into Manaphy, as he reveals a hidden power, which is really interesting, because if it's a hidden power Ice or hidden power Rock, and with the things he had, he is potential setup fodder for Lucario again. But it is how it is. I get a free switch into Manaphy, which is all I need, and I can just click Surf here to knock out the Rotom. I know he won't risk me going out into anything else, or risk beating this Manaphy. Now he goes for close combat, and another instance where I thought prep came into play. Again, as I mentioned earlier, he either needed a Scarf Rotom Heat or a Scarf Terrakion to beat my Manaphy at this point. To beat my Lucario and my Mega Absol. So one of the two had to be Scarfed in my mind, because otherwise he didn't have enough stuff to check those. They just straight ran through his team. But he turns out, and the thing is, at this range, my Manaphy at 77%, if it's a Jolly Choice Scarf Terrakion, it's a roll in my favor for my Manaphy to live, and I could have taken out this Terrakion with a Surf, and the biggest threat to my team would have been gone. Plus, even the Stone Edge, which would have been the likely and better play in my opinion, because I have a Yuxi as the most likely switch into this, I would have lived that guaranteed. So I felt Manaphy was the best play here to stay in. But he actually isn't Scarf, which is like really confusing to me. And I lose my Manaphy because I didn't expect the Life Orb, which, you know, it happens. So I'm really hard pressed here. But with the Defense Drop and the Life Orb hit, this gets me out into my Mega Absol. I'm down 5-0 now. I can't afford to lose another Pokemon. This Absol, what it does have is Play Rough, so I can just click Play Rough here. He sacks off his Mamoswine, which is a good play. It takes the Play Rough still, but not the Sucker Punch after. I don't want to take the unnecessary Ice Shard damage. And now he goes into Dragonite, which is a play I didn't really understand, because I just reviewed Play Half, and with his multi-state broken, I do at least 70% to him. And he's playing for a win. He's not playing for me not winning 5-0. You have to understand that. So yeah, I think that he has to be a bulky Dragonite at this point, and is going to kill my Mega Absol, because Mega Absol at this point, because he, even if Gengar is Scarfed, I Sucker Punch it but I probably won't risk that. At this point, my Mega Absol pretty much just cleans his team if it doesn't take it out ASAP. So I predict an E-Speed or a Dragon Move or something to kill the Mega Absol here, because Play Rough, even if he lifts the Play Rough, if he does something doesn't kill my Mega Absol, he's in a lot of trouble after. So I've saved this Mega Absol, go into my Arcanine to get off the Intimidate, and he roosts. And now this was a misplay on Bob's part in my opinion. I don't agree with that play like at all, because even he told me he's a bulky Dragonite, which is fair, but Play Rough would have done 50% at least. That's the min roll, so probably even to a bulky Dragonite I would have done about 55 to 60%, which means he couldn't really Roost stall me. Like the next Play Rough after the Roost would have taken out the Dragonite because I outsped and he would have never gotten his multi-scale back. Would have even potentially put him in knockoff range. So with this play, what this does however is it puts me in a bad position, because all I can do right here is Roar, because if this Dragonite sets up on me, I lose this game immediately. I can't risk that, so I have to click Roar with my Arcanine and I thought he might double, and if I am a bit lucky I can get back in the the Dragonite and go from there. Now here it's a bit of a 50-50. If he roosts again and I go for Roar, we basically lose nothing from it. We're in the same situation as before, only that I lose the game if I roar him out into the Terrakion. Or I don't lose the game, but I will lose another Pokemon if he gets into Terrakion. However, I can't really hit this Dragonite for damage, and again, I'm still in the mindset, if it gets up a Dragon Dance, I lose, or I at least can't win high enough to beat him. So my only play is to roar again, and he roosts again as I roar him out, and he unfortunately gets roared out into the Terrakion. And right here, this means that the only way, because he's Life Orb, he kills my Dragonite, he kills my Arcanine, even with the close combat, and he kills my Arcanine even with the close combat, which means which is why I expected him to close combat here, not risking the Stone Edge miss and the potential Will-O-Wisp, which I haven't shown off yet because I didn't show Toxic. Having Will-O-Wisp would have been pretty nice there. But yeah, so I expect him to close combat here, and my only way is to switch out into the Yuxi and get the slow U-turn off, but he Stone Edges for whatever goddamn reason he risks a miss. So yeah, I lose this game, or I have to let my Uxie go down right here. Or I have to. The only thing is, like, my options here are two. I can go into Lucario on the Stone Edge, but since I opted to go Agility variant because of Rotom Heat, I can't click Bullet Punch to kill this. I can only, basically without losing a Pokemon, the only way I preserve the 5-0 win here is if he misses the Stone Edge and I get the slow U-turn out into my Absol. Then I have potential to win 5-0. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click U-turn, and he hits the Stone Edge and my Yuxi goes down. So at this point I was like pretty frustrated because I felt like the plays he made, which were understandable since he was pressed for time, he was doing stuff at the same time, put me in this position that I had to lose my Yuxi right here. But it is what it is. At this point I was pretty frustrated, but hey, it happens. But I'm in with my Absol. I just click Play Rough here. He goes into Gengar, and what I should have done is click Knock Off this turn, because I don't think Scarf Gengar didn't make any sense versus my team. It just gave so many things a chance to beat it. But at this point I didn't really care. Like, I didn't think this turned through because I was still like kind of stuck at the point where my Yuxi went down. So I make a misplay here and go for Sucker Punch on the most obvious substitute of my life. And when I usually outspeed Gengar, the chance that he's Scarfed is pretty slim. And even if he's Scarfed, he would have to go for a move like Focus Blast or Dazzling Gleam to knock me out, which gave me room with Lucario to set up. So yeah, the Sucker Punch was a choke here, because this means I have to go for Knockoff to break the sub, and he can just knock me out with the Sludge Wave after, which is bad for me. My Absol will just drop, so I'm now only 3-0, but I can go into my Lucario finally, which is Airballoon, which doesn't matter at this point. And I can set up the Agility on the double. I don't know why he switched. Like, you never switch out on a Lucario when you have potential to hit it with something. Even Shadow Ball would have done decent damage to the Lucario and potentially put him in E-speed range from Dragonite if he had it. Like, the switch out on the Lucario gave me free setup, and I just cleaned the game here with Ice Punch on the Dragonite, Ice Punch on the Gengar, and finally with the close combat on the Terrakion. A good game to Bob. Unfortunate circumstances under which this game happened, but there's nothing we can change about that. We get the 3-0 win in a nice fashion, which is cool. Sadly, we're not moving on to bracket play. I still enjoyed the time in the tournament. I really enjoyed using this draft buried Serena. Don't draft Serena. It's shit. It was in the matchups I had, at least. But yeah. After all, we're not going to make it to bracket play. I'm still going to upload those matches, obviously, and I hope that that I am working on getting a new sound card right now, so my audio quality should improve for the next couple videos, or in the upcoming GPC season. I still hope that I might make it into NPL minors, depending on how people like my videos and how they like how I performed in the tournament. Because after all, we still went 2-1. We had a winning record, and we just lost because our opponents had a better differential, which there is nothing you can really do about. So yeah, enough from me for the NPL Tryout tournament. I'm really really happy that you watched this video. My name is Johnny, I'm the coach of your Cologne Conkeldurrs. Cheers, I'm out.